Hi, Matt with eTrailer. If you have a 2023 Toyota Tacoma and you're looking for something that is going to be pretty rugged for those really snowy or icy conditions, then the tire chains with the V-bars, twist links, and cams are going to be a great option for you. So let's check it out. We're going to have this on tire size 245/75 R16. That's just the tire size we have today. It will fit a variety of different sizes. And we're going to have this on the rear axle as what the manual recommends. And taking a closer look at these chains, here you'll see that twist link I was talking about, but on top of that we're going to have this V-bar. They're also going to be constructed from a manganese nickel alloy steel, and they are going to be a pretty large size chain too. And then along with that we're going to have this ladder pattern designed to them. And what all that means really is, with that nickel manganese alloy steel, is it's going to be more rust resistant, so they're going to last you a long time. And that V-bar is what's making these chains so aggressive. They're going to help you get that extra bite for those really tough terrains where you're going through that deep snow and that deep ice. And that ladder pattern design is just giving you a little bit more traction for when you're stopping and you're starting. Something to really think about though with this style of chain is those V-bars on them are going to be very tough. And when they are driving over those spotty areas where a little bit of pavement is showing through, definitely keep an eye on that because it can tear up the ground. Now, if you are worried about that, I'd recommend just checking out another version of these by Titan Chain. They're going to have these twist links, but just without those V-bars on top. And they're still going to have the cams that we have here on the side. And what I like about those cams are they're just giving us a little bit extra help for when we are trying to make everything nice and tight. Because while that lever at the bottom of these chains works really nicely, those cams are just going to make your life a lot easier. While those cams are great for the initial setup, I still recommend using a rubber tensioner. Because what a rubber tensioner is going to do for you is going to constantly apply tension to these chains. So when you are driving around, what will happen is your chains usually shift, and once they shift, they usually loosen up. This is just going to give you a lot more peace of mind so they don't loosen up too much and make contact with your suspension. Now, this will not come with your kit. This is something you have to invest in separately, and we have plenty of them on our website. Now, what this kit will come with will be 2 chains. You'll have this tool to tighten down your cams, and this pretty light duty bag. And if I'm being honest with you, I'm not the biggest fan of this bag just because since we do have those V-bars on here, they can rip through this bag really fast. So if you're wanting something that's going to last you a bit longer, I'd recommend checking out maybe just some totes that you can put your chains in. Now, if you're just looking for an easier installation overall, and you are just looking for just moderate conditions, then I'd recommend checking out the Titan Chain Assisted Tensioning Tire Chains. Because what's great about that is you don't have to get underneath your vehicle, and you don't have to invest in a rubber tensioner either, because it's going to have this assisted tensioner built into it that will help keep everything nice and tight. But I think this is going to be the ideal choice if you are trying to go through those really heavy conditions. Now, if you are curious about this installation, just stay tuned and we'll walk you through the process. To start off the installation, I'll have to grab a pair of gloves, just make this process a bit easier, and lay out my chains. Now, if you are doing this for the first time, I recommend staying home and trying this out. But really, what we're looking for are a couple things. We just want to make sure nothing's tangled up, none of these links are damaged, and it's in the right orientation. So these hooks should be facing up, so they're not pressing against your tire. And then these cams right here should be furthest away from your tire. You also want to make sure they're not already tightened down. This is what it's going to look like in the tightened position. So just make sure you loosen that up. From here, we can start putting it on. And to do that, I just like to grab it from the center and then drape it over. Once you drape it over, you want to make sure it's not hanging too low. Kind of like here, that's going to make contact with your rim. So I'm just going to pull up on it some and make sure it's even on both ends. And it's centered up there. And then I like to come over to the sides and adjust those too. And what I like most about this point is just kind of making it easier for me later on to make our connections. And speaking of those connections, all we're really doing are really grabbing the side with your links and connecting that to the side with this hook. When you do this, you want to make sure you don't get it too tight. You have plenty of options as far as links go, but if you make it too tight, then it's not going to give you a very good fit on this tire. And something else, this is part of the reason why I recommend trying this out at home first, because trying to do this on the side of the road in the middle of a blizzard can be pretty difficult. And then we're going to repeat that same process on the front side, only going to be a little bit different now. Instead of using a hook, we're going to use this lever right here. Really easy to use. I'm just going to get that to a point that feels pretty tight and then push down. We'll then have this hooked area that we can push that through this link that's hanging out here on the side. After which, just come back through and kind of pulling your chain to see how this feels. And of course, this is still pretty loose. So what I'm going to do is grab my key, and the way you're going to use this is you're going to have this flat edge to it. And that flat edge is going to go in these holes centered up on these cams. All you have to do is just turn it, locks into place, and I'm going to do this for each one of them, or as tight as I can get this. I'm going to go to the third one now. This might be all we need. I'll pull it one more time. It feels good, but I think we can do a bit better. Then tighten it here. Then come back through and give it a good pull test. Now, I still recommend using that rubber tensioner because of what I was talking about earlier. And the way you put it on is pretty straightforward. I like to do mine in a star pattern. And once you have these hooks in place, you want to make sure that is facing away from the tire, just so it doesn't puncture anything. Then we're just going to do that with the rest of these. I like to, afterwards, when all of them are in place, just see how it's looking. Right here, I don't like how these two are placed together, so I'll just move it around a little bit until maybe it sits here. And that looks a little bit more dispersed. Now is a good point, just give it another good pull test to make sure it feels good still. After which, repeat that process on the other side, and then either pull forward or back up some to make sure everything still looks good. And if it does, you can take it out for a ride. But that's just a look at the Titan chain with the V's and twist links and cams on our 2023 Toyota Tacoma.